I'm Joshua Parker, known as DJ Parker, and this is Unique Beatz Studio. You're here for another Parker radio show.
Hey everybody, let's go. I'm hoping that you're ready for another episode. You know we play that music in the UB studio. And now it's time to welcome everybody to the Parker radio show. Everybody, let's go. I'm hoping that you're ready for another episode. You know we play that music in the UB studio. And now it's time to welcome everybody to the Parker radio show.
How we doing out there, everybody? We're here for another Parker radio show, here live at Unique Beatz Studio. With special thanks to our nation's finest, thank you for your service. Want target relief fast? Now you can enjoy the best-selling One Less CBD Tropical Inflammation Cream. Get yours for free, plus shipping. Limited time offer. Go to www.onelesscbd.com/UB-radio. Good morning. It is August 29th, and we're back here for another Parker radio show. And I want to say, it's been such a great morning. I know it's raining here. I woke up great. Slept great. I stayed up all late last night researching, doing a little bit of work. I just want to say, man, I woke up feeling 100% better than I did the last few days, and it is amazing. But starting off this week, we got a great lineup of artists. Hailing from New York City, we have a native, Simeon Reyes. She was raised in hip-hop and has been a godfather of hip-hop's right hand since high school. Then, without warning, Russell Simmons very publicly stepped down from his business to redirect his focus on global healing, and Simeon's life took a turn. Russell Simeon's dream into reality that became legend. Then, without warning, Russell Simeons very publicly stepped down from his business to redirect his focus on global healing, and Simeon's life took a turn. During that time, for the first time in her adult life, she was able to focus on her dream and follow her passion, which was country music, dedicated to honoring the timeless country sound of her idols such as Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, Tammy Wynette, and others. Her songs are both contemporary and authentically true country. Simeon, who is of Irish, Asian, and Spanish descent, is also an ex-reality star, world-renowned animal activist, TEDx speaker, and author. Gratefully proving that dreams don't have an expiration date, Simeon now spends time in the studio recording, co-writing songs, conceptualizing music videos, and letting her voice finally be heard. It is her prayer that she will lead by example for others, especially women who have a song in their heart that has yet to be heard and whose time has come to fly. Let's give a warm welcome for Simeon, singing You Are My Happy Hour featuring Shaney here on the Parker Radio Show powered by Unique Beatz.
Some girls have their eyes set on that clock, counting down from 9 to 5, can't wait to throw one back, or maybe two. Sometimes a girl just gotta blow off steam, meet her girls and booze it up to get her head back on track. Ain't that the truth? Once I punch out, you know that I can't wait. To walk through that door and throw my arms around your waist. Shake, 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 shake up the bottle, pop off the top and get a little wild. Bump, 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 the bump goes my heart. We'll dance to the rhythm, dance, dance till it gets dark. All right, so right, under the moonlight, hair goes down and the world goes bye-bye. Baby, when you kiss me, get a little frisky, making me tipsy, sipping this love of ours.
Let's start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you became to love music.
Well, my name is Simone Reyes, and I'm a country singer, which some people found strange since I'm a native New Yorker. But being a native New Yorker, my mom, she's from Ireland, and my dad, he passed away during the pandemic, but he was a flamenco guitarist. I was introduced to music at a very young age, but it wasn't, on one hand, I really loved Sonny and Cher a lot when I was little, but we listened to a lot of country. We listened to John Denver, and we listened to Dolly Parton, and as I got older, I loved Loretta Lynn and Barbara Mandrell, and then I got really into Shania Twain. And so I was just sort of raised on country music, and it didn't matter that I was a city girl and, had never really been to the country or Texas or anything like that. So I started very young loving music, and having my father, even though my father and my mother separated pretty early on in my life, he would keep his guitars at our home, and he would come in and he would tune them all the time, and I would hear him playing all the time. And so music was just a big part of my life growing up.
So that just ties into our next question. What were some of your first memories as a singer? And was there any particular artist that you idolized at a young age?
I have to say my biggest obsession with any artist was, probably the same obsession that most kids my age had, which was Madonna. It wasn't just Madonna's music, it was her look, it was her attitude, it was what she represented. I was completely obsessed with Madonna, and I was a Madonna wannabe, and I dressed exactly like her. But before that, it was more, I mentioned John Denver, really, really loved him. His music just spoke to me in a way. I mean, he'd be singing about places that I'd never been and experiences that I never had. It was very country oriented, but it just took me away to another land listening to him sing. So he was a big part of it. And I think I mentioned the Cher Variety Hour was on TV, and I had olive skin and dark, very, very dark hair growing up. I look mostly like my father, and at that time it was very, it was the age of the blonde supermodel, Cheryl Tiegs and actresses like Farrah Fawcett. There weren't a lot of girls that looked like me on TV, and so I think because of that, I was when I was really tiny, like 5, 6, I really, really loved Cher, and that's something that never stopped. I still love Cher, and I always laugh when she says, I want to thank my fans because they've put up with a lot of crap being my fans, and I'm like, I'm one of them. I'll never not be a Cher fan. I love her.
But from that age until now, how has your influence as music changed, and who are your major influences currently?
Over the years, I would say that I got deeper and deeper into country music, which makes sense since I'm a country singer. And, even though my favorite is 90s country, I mean, that's what I sort of gravitate to when I'm driving in the car. Gosh, I just, I love listening to, Carrie Underwood, and I love listening to Maren Morris, and I love listening to, all of the hit makers of today. I can't get enough of. I think they're all fantastic, and I love that country is sort of evolving into much more kind of accessible, if you will. It's a lot more pop, music oriented, and I come from that. I've always been somebody that when my friends were listening to punk rock and really, 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 really strong into hip hop, because that's my background in terms of my career, I was always just a pop music person. I love pop music. I don't think there's anything, shameful about saying you love pop music. And country music these days is very pop oriented, and a lot of people don't like that because they feel that country is sort of getting away from its roots. But I just see it as expanding. And I don't think that the roots of country music will ever really be blurred. I think that, true country music will always be the core of pop country music because it still focuses on the things that make country music unique, which is truthful storytelling. Country music has that in common actually with hip hop, which you wouldn't think would really intersect in a lot of ways, because hip hop and country music songwriters are both poets at the end of the day, and they are telling the stories of their culture and what is true for them in their everyday life, which isn't always easy to digest, because it's true. And that's why I think that country music is just it's the voice of the people in many ways, but so is hip hop nowadays.
So do you find yourself going down that line as far as maybe throwing a hip hop song or two on your country album?
I do see that yes, and I love the fact that rap has now become a part of country music. It's really breaking in there, and yes, I absolutely do. I worked a little bit on one song. I'm trying to get it right, which would be probably a cover song, and sort of add a hip hop component to it. It definitely would be one of my biggest challenges. I think it's going to be great once I get it worked out.
So since the beginning of your music career, what kind of training have you been through to get to where you are now?
I am one of those people that sang in the shower. That was my training. I never took vocal lessons. I'm self-taught on the guitar, and with songwriting, I feel like it's something that sort of comes from a different place. And most songwriters will say, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was gifted this song. I think the really good songs that's how they sort of come to you. You have no idea where they came from, and you kind of feel like they were just gifted from sort of somewhere else. But there are times when I struggle, hitting a note, or I get vocally exhausted, and I think, oh, I probably should, do some vocal exercises, or even strengthen my voice with some lessons. And then I also, Barbra Streisand never took a lesson in her life. I think it's important to keep your instrument clean and strong. So obviously I don't smoke. I don't do anything crazy like that. But I think that in a lot of ways, as wonderful as it is to have a Celine Dion type voice, I think so much of being an authentic and really truthful storyteller comes from just singing from your heart. And so I think a lot of the songwriters and singer-songwriters that we hear, they may not all have the range of somebody like I said, Streisand or Celine Dion, but if they're singing from their heart, I think that's what people really lock into and relate to. Even somebody like Billie Eilish has such a beautiful voice, but she's not vocally trained in the way that so many people who don't make it are. And so I think just being authentically yourself and feeling the lyrics of a song and expressing them through your heart speaks to people in a really profound way.
So I heard you talking about your family and your parents a little bit. Has your family always encouraged you to pursue a career in the music industry?
At the end of the day, I really only started pursuing this 3 years ago because my life was so incredibly busy that I couldn't imagine that I would ever have time to do something like music. I literally never had a second. My life was, I was an executive assistant for most of my life to one of the most busy moguls in history. His name is Russell Simmons. He's considered the godfather of hip hop. And my phone was never turned off. I worked 24 hours a day. I was always on call. And then in my spare time, I was in a romantic relationship for many years. That was a common law marriage. You have to make time for that. I had a house full of rescued animals, and I also did a lot of animal advocacy work on the side. So the idea of actually having time to pursue a music career was out of the question. But about three and a half years ago, I found myself with more time to do that. And there were people that were like, that time has passed. You're not 25 years old anymore, for sure, almost double that. But I've always been somebody that believes that dreams don't have an expiration date, and that the thing that keeps you young is to never limit yourself and never stop pursuing your dreams. I mean, even somebody like Jennifer Lopez, who is in her 50s, there's nothing that you see her allow herself to be limited by. She actually started out as a, movie star, right? An actress, and then when she decided that she was going to be a singer, she got a lot of pushback. Very hard for movie stars and television stars to go into music. There's usually people that just want to keep you in your lane, and she never let it stop her. And there's a lot of women that I think nowadays are starting their second sort of career much later in life, and that's something that I'm a huge advocate for. I always tell my friends who sort of get depressed or feel like their time is sort of limited by their age. I always say, you don't have to be the same person today that you were yesterday, and you don't have to be the same person tomorrow that you were today. We can always change who we are, and we can always better ourselves, and we can always go after our dreams. There's no expiration date on that. And as soon as there is, well then, gosh, what's the point of living?
Right, right. I would agree. It's all up in the head. You got to get your mind set that things are going to get better and you're on the right track. And I tell that a lot of times in my spiritual devotions and groups that I'm in with like-minded entrepreneurs. In the mornings, I do a group, and I always tell the group, I was like, as long as you got it set in your head, things are going to happen. Things are going to turn around. So just stay positive, keep your right mindset, and like I say, it will come.
The law of attraction. And it's
Yes.
interesting because I've met people like Russell, actually, who live the law of attraction without ever knowing what the law of attraction is. And it's fascinating when you see people that live the law of attraction and have been and are wildly successful because they've somehow harnessed it from a very young age, and they don't even know it. Like when I said to him, "Oh God, you're so like in the zone of of the law of attraction," no idea what I was talking about, but I would watch him pivot from thoughts. Like if there was bad news that he had to know, I would, being his executive assistant and eventually, being the director of television development in that company, there would be bad news to give, but he would hardly let me get it out. I would start the sentence and he would kind of get the gist of what the bad news was, and he'd say, "Okay, next." He would sort of delete it, and he would just think of the way to make it right, and he would never sit in that emotion. And I was like, wow, that's the law of attraction. It's like attracts like, so if you stick in the negative, then you're only going to get negative. But if you pivot to what's positive about the situation and what you can do to change it, then the chances of success are so much higher. It's just about believing in yourself and believing that, that good is what is expected, right? If you expect good, you're going to just get that energy of good around you versus expecting, gloom and doom all the time.
That is right. Bob Proctor was one of my favorite all times when it comes to law of attraction. Listening to
Mm.
him. You ever got the chance to watch The Secret?
Oh gosh, of course. When it first came out, and then I'm sure again later when there was kind of a resurgence of it. It's fascinating to me, isn't it?
That's awesome. But what were some of your most memorable performances and what made them so memorable?
I mean, I laugh at it now, but about 4 days before the COVID lockdown, I was playing with my producer Al Bonham at a small venue in the Valley here in California, and we knew that there was this virus called COVID-19, and we knew that it was spreading, but it wasn't at the point where anybody knew that much about how it was spreading. They just knew it was spreading, and it was spreading quickly. And we were not on lockdown yet. It was about 4 days away from lockdown. And I had a show, and at that point, I didn't think that we should cancel it. So we were we were doing the show, but I look at pictures of the show, and I remember distinctly saying, "Can you wipe down the microphone?" to the manager, and he said, "Oh yes," and he wiped down the microphone. And I wore gloves. I wore very attractive. I wore blue, latex gloves, and none of us had a mask on. It was it was hilarious when I look back at it, because at the time, they didn't have masks. And you know what I mean? Like the PPE just wasn't available. But anybody that had masks had already gotten them. Like the people that knew really what a pandemic was, like they were all bought up and gone. But the fact that I thought, well, if I just wipe down the microphone and I wear these gloves, we're not going to get this thing called COVID-19. And then about 5 days later, we were all shut down and locked in our houses. And I thought to myself, how is it that I didn't get COVID that night? It was sort of a miracle. But I would say that will always be one of the most memorable, because it just showed how little we knew about the virus and how funny it was that I wore gloves but no mask. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that is totally hilarious. That's funny. So,
But we didn't
what?
get it. Me and my friend did not get COVID. Like Al didn't get COVID. It's like, wow, that was a miracle.
So, talking about the COVID and the pandemic, what did you do during that time to stay interacting with your fans and as far as music?
Well, certainly social media, right, is a gift. For all of the issues there are with social media, and there are. I mean, I think for young kids growing up in the age of social media, it's both a blessing and a curse. I see the incredible value of connectivity in social media. I mean, it's incredible. The fact that I can still probably tell you what my crush in the third grade did, last weekend is hilarious and wonderful, because we connected on Facebook and then eventually Instagram and whatever. So that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. But it's also a place where people bully each other behind, devices, and a place where, the selfie generations have sort of taken off, and people feel like they need a filter to look pretty, and all of that. So it's sort of and it's good and it's scary. But certainly I did a lot of posting during the pandemic, and eventually what I realized is, even when, vaccines got into people's arms and we knew how to wear, N95 masks and the numbers started going down, I still didn't really feel comfortable, because it was so up and down with the numbers, going into a studio and doing a song. I just felt like, studios have to be so soundproofed in the very small areas, and I thought, it's just not safe. So I ended up working with my producer Al Bonham, and we got a little setup going in my house where he would sort of go on on Bandcamp or one of those things, and he would record my vocals. I bought everything I needed to do clean vocals at home, and we would just do the songs like that. So I haven't really seen him, in the flesh, for years, for the last 2 years. But we were able to put out music through just my little setup at home, and me bouncing it to him, and him, being live with me online, which is sort of incredible and crazy. Such a crazy time right now.
So, I know
Really
you
not.
had a new song that just released not too long ago. You Are My Happy Hour. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So I am always on the hunt. I don't write all of my songs. I consider myself a better lyricist than I am a songwriter. But this song, I heard it, and I said, first time, I said, I have to record this song, because the song made me feel like I wanted to get up and party and dance. And that is something that I think is it's just, once you feel something like that in your bones, it's one of those things that you just want to keep playing. And I thought this song has the potential to have people feel really good. And I also saw it as sort of a female empowerment song when I knew I was going to do a very, very strong sisterhood video to accompany it. At its essence, it's a love song. it also has a lot of references to drinking. But at the end of the day, I saw it as a song for women to sort of celebrate sisterhood. And that's where I got the idea to do it as a duet. I had never done a duet before, not ever. It was a very exciting prospect to me to do a duet. And my friend Shani is a very acclaimed, sort of internationally known singer. She travels a lot with her husband Andy, who is, he's huge. He has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and he's had #1 hits, and he's recorded with Bon Jovi. And I thought to myself, she would be the perfect person. Plus, we're both animal people. We both do animal rescuing and animal advocacy, so that was just super fun. And I knew that, we both had a little bit of time because of the pandemic. And so she was like, I sent her the song and she got back to me within an hour and was like, yes, I love this song. Like, she went crazy for it. And she was like, we have to do the song. And so we did it, but we never saw each other. We never got to, go in the studio and do all that fun stuff. The only time that we saw each other was when we did the video, which was months later, with people standing outside, getting tested, and then making sure that, none of us had COVID when we recorded the video. Sort of crazy. Oh, and it was written, the song was written by John D'Agostino and Michael August, and I'm just so grateful that they wrote such a great song.
So besides music, what are some of your pastime activities, hobbies, and or interests that you enjoy doing?
Rescuing animals is it's the most important thing to me on the planet, I have to say. I always say on my tombstone, the word activist is going to be really, really strongly represented. I am ridiculously affected by the suffering of animals, and that could be, a dog or a cat or a pig or a duck or a cow. It doesn't matter to me. All suffering is equal, and I do everything that I can to alleviate that suffering. And believe me, once you get into helping animals, there is no rest, because it is right now, the shelters are in complete crisis. So it's not even like you can say, well, if we get them off the streets and get them into the shelters, that they'll be fine and adopted. That is not the case. The chances are higher that they'll, languish there because there aren't enough homes. And it all comes back to the same thing. There's too many. There's an overpopulation. We need to stop breeding animals. We need to stop, having people go and get animals from anywhere else except the shelters and private rescues. That's where animals need to be saved from, and then we will have the opportunity to not see so many being euthanized in the shelters. We're in a crisis time. So right now I'm in the middle of a big rescue with Saving Animals and Healing Hearts, and we're trying to save a bunch of farm animals right now. That's my whole life, is saving animals when I'm not doing music.
So fan interaction is an important part of being an artist and the most rewarding. Any stories you have about fans that have stood out to you? Maybe a first autograph story, maybe the first time a fan noticed you in public?
It's funny. The first time I was recognized in public was when I was doing a reality show, actually. I was on a TV show called Running Russell Simmons on the Oxygen Network. And it was surreal and crazy. I would walk down the street in New York, and the entire bus would have my picture on it. And I would walk down a street in Soho, and there would be a giant billboard of my face. And it was like crazy. And then I would have people stop me in the street and say, "Oh my gosh, you're on that TV show." Yeah. And then later it would be not just, "Oh, I saw your face. You're the person that did the TEDx talk on animals. You made me see animals differently." So I get recognized weirdly in these different arenas. some people recognize me just for my animal advocacy, and others recognize me from being on the news, talking about animals, or being on the TV show. And now I'm, a country singer, and there's that aspect where I've had women send me messages on social media or in my private folder, on Instagram, and say, I love the fact that you pivoted in your career towards something that really mattered to you, and you're not a 22-year-old singer from Nashville. I love the fact that you are, sort of jumping into this scary in a way, but very exciting, endeavor of following your dream of making music when you're not, exactly at the age where people think that you should be doing that. And so it's really exciting to hear from anybody that you've affected in your life in any way, especially when it's changed their life for the better, whether they've decided to stop eating animals and that's made them feel better about themselves, or they've decided to jump into a career that they never thought that they would have the time to, now that they are sort of empty nest syndrome and they have some time to not concentrate on the kids as much, and their husband is retired or on the way to getting retired, and they always wanted to learn jewelry design, or they always wanted to go back to college, or whatever it is, do it. Like, that's my message. Like, and if you think that there's going to be a perfect time and you're going to feel like right in your spirit about it, I always tell them, probably not. If you want to do something, do it scared. Just do it scared. So what? And if you fall on your face, so what? You get up and you try it again. I think so many of our problems come from our self-limiting beliefs. And it's such a shame, because we should really be our own best friend, our own strongest advocate. And that's so often not the case, but it really needs to be.
Very, very nice. Yeah, that's very rewarding. So tell us tell us how you like to interact with fans and what you have coming up here in the future and where we can find you on social media.
Well, I love to get messages from everybody that listens to my music and loves this new song that I did with Shani. It's so much fun to hear from them, and tagging me on social media or sending me a message on Twitter or whatever is ridiculously fun for me. And so I love it. And I'm working with my producer, Al Bonham. We have a lot of songs ready to record, and I'm just so anxious to get them done. But it takes time, he has to get all of the musicians together, and we have to make sure that I have an incredible videographer from Frontman Video, and his name is Carrie, and I love doing videos with him. So that'll be next. New songs, new videos. And you can find me online on, Simone Reyes Music is my Instagram, and Simone Reyes is my Twitter, and that's the best places to find me. I have other sort of handles for the animal advocacy work I do, but Simone Reyes Music on Instagram, and I also have Simone Reyes Music on Facebook, and my website, SimoneReyes.com, has all of my videos and all of my music, and my bio, which I always just hope that my bio inspires people, especially women, to just keep going after their dreams.
Well, it's a pleasure having you here on the Unique Beats platform, Simone. You're a great new addition to our lineup of artists, and we're honored to air your new single, You Are My Happy Hour, featuring Shani. You can find out more about Simone on SimoneReyes.com and for all her updates and concerts. Again, thank you, Simone. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you. This was so much fun.